Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, joined once more by Tate, as we bring you a review on the newest Pixar film, another one that's hit Disney Plus, which we'll be able to speak about very briefly. This is, of course, Turning Red, released this Friday on the Disney Plus format. I believe it's showing at something like 5 cinemas in the world, in
Is
America. Sorry, not the world.
it?
Um, very lucky cinemas indeed. If you are a fan of the cinema experience, we're going to keep harping on that. But no, we're here to review this film as it's out now. Um, this is obviously one of the newer review formats, so this is why the intro is a bit different to normal. We haven't really discussed it. I don't think we're going to do spoilers per se, but maybe it would have been good to have watched this film before listening to our thoughts. So
Hmm.
that's just on the off chance to make a comment, because I think the less you know about this film heading into it, the better it is. I hadn't even seen a trailer for this film before watching this, so that's a really big thing for me. But firstly, Tate, how are we tonight?
Yeah, doing okay, doing okay. Really excited to see another Pixar film. We will go into why I wasn't so excited in a minute as well. So, kind of a bit of conflict there between kind of where it was showing and how available it was to watch. But before that, we need to ask you guys if you've seen Turning Red. Please be sure to comment below, like, share, and subscribe as well onto the channel. We have loads of stuff coming out soon. And please follow us on all of our social medias to find out all the stuff that's happening. So that is on Twitter at cinema_savvy. That is on Facebook. Just type in cinema savvy and go onto Letterboxd as well. Just type in cinema savvy again. And also go into link in the description and find our TeePublic link to find some cozy jumpers and t-shirts.
Yes, absolutely. Please do that. It does mean a lot of support. We've got a lot of things happening on the channel. A lot of new people tuning in. We had a Kenobi trailer last week, which was lovely to get. We had a few other things, and there's a very big series starting in about 2 weeks, just looking at the clock.
Mm.
So there's more stuff on the way, lots more Oscar stuff, a lot of things happening on the channel. But heading into this one, as I said, you say heading in, not like we got to go anywhere. Tate, I
Mm.
want to know what were your thoughts before, because I didn't even see a trailer for this, and that's very rare with Pixar. So I'm kind of curious what your background is, if you knew anything about it.
So I knew that it was being created by Domi Shi, who did Bao, the Oscar-winning short film, which I absolutely adored from a couple of years back. So I was really excited to kind of see like what would happen if they were given kind of a massive creative license and given a bigger budget and given like a full feature-length film. Um, and then as soon as kind of news came out, we talked about this on our Luca review. We talked about this as well on the Soul review as well. The film not getting a wide cinema release, going straight onto Disney Plus, and it's not. I'm not a fan of it, especially because Pixar from previous years has kind of been the pinnacle of animation. We always talk about kind of the years of like Toy Story, Monsters Inc., and even some of the sequel films and the films that they put out afterwards. Like from recent times, you've got Inside Out. Soul itself was an absolutely fantastic film, massive return to form. But now they're all being placed onto the streaming platform instead of being given a full cinematic release, which I don't agree with at all. I think that animated films are a fun experience in the cinema. I don't think that they should be kind of shoved onto the streaming platform and kind of put on the backdrop, especially when Disney's main release of their animated films immediately goes into cinemas. So for me, it doesn't make much sense that like Pixar's getting the back end of this, especially when I quite enjoyed Luca. Luca was a decent film. This film was okay. I've got its criticisms for it, but I feel like it would have been better if it was seen at the cinema instead of being placed onto Disney Plus. And then Soul, I feel being released kind of Christmas Day onto the stream platform and then not really getting a wide cinema release afterwards. That really irked me. That really got to me because that was a fantastic film. And it's a trend now that kind of you're looking at the schedule of kind of Pixar films coming up, and well, they've said that Lightyear is going to get a cinematic release, but I don't know what's going to happen to the other Pixar films. Are they going to be shoved onto Disney Plus, kind of as a like that's its place now? If you want to watch a Pixar
Yeah.
film, we're going to put it there. I don't think it gives Pixar a fair chance at the award season. I don't think it gets viewed as much as it would do if it was given kind of a cinema release and also the streaming release. So I feel like there's a lot more kind of criticism towards their kind of marketing and their kind of publishing of that, especially when I didn't see much marketing of this at all. I saw one trailer. That was it.
Yeah, it's really interesting that, because with this film in particular, it's the you mentioned the director's name, Domi Shi. She's the first female director on a feature-length Disney film. I believe she was the first
Mm,
one to do a short film, which obviously she won the Oscar for, and it was this one as well. And okay, there's very personal too. I think she also moved to Toronto at a young age. A lot of comparisons to make to this film, which is really interesting. Reading the behind the scenes, and there's a really good documentary they've released on Disney Plus about it as well. But I think what's irks me more than anything is okay. Soul, obviously, COVID. I remember that was at London Film Festival, but like
mm,
only screened at festivals in person. Even
mm.
though the film was going to get put online anyway at Christmas, it was really bonkers for them to do that. And I think what's sort of killed it, Luca was controversial again. They could have released out the cinemas, but they chose not to. And you can half get away with it a year ago. You can say, oh, maybe they're not ready, maybe not, but not now. Encanto was out in cinemas. Encanto came out in November. To my date, was still being shown at cinemas in the UK after the Blu-ray came out, and there were still crowds of people going.
Mm.
And that is a film that wasn't a massive hit on week one at the cinema. It steadily picked up money across the months. And I just think it's really insulting to the animation team
And
to then say another one
mm,
going online, even though it's they've already released other animated films since that time online, and it's really frustrating as a fan of Pixar. Like, I mean, I don't jump on the animated reviews often. I don't dislike animated films at all. I'm not as well connected in the know on them as many others. And Pixar's always been the one. You can see behind me, I've got every Pixar Blu-ray. I've always loved Pixar films,
mm,
and I just feel a bit. I mean, insult is a term, but imagine you're an animator. You're putting years of hard work, and yes, you'll be able to show it to your family. You might get a credit still, but your employers and hierarchy saying no, your work isn't good enough. Not good enough, but your work isn't going on a cinema screen. And I
mm.
find that really tough. And you mentioned as well the quality of animation of Pixar. Pixar carried the animated genre from the late 90s through there's a reason Disney bought them, and it's really frustrating, I think, as a fan. And I think
Mm.
certainly for this film, which watching this again, I hadn't seen the trailer. No, I knew the concept was that if she got overexcited or over emotional, then she would pop into a giant panda. A very intriguing concept. But this film in particular, it is focused on the journey of an individual through those early teen years, going through puberty, which is one of the most important sort of ages you could have. I would say that it's
Yeah.
not something. I wouldn't even say this is a coming of age film. This is a bit more personal than that. This is a kind of film that we haven't really had, certainly from an animation studio. And I think the concept itself was really ballsy for them to do. And I found myself really enjoying the ideas they put into it. I just feel deflated seeing how little advertising this has had. And
Mm.
just probably, I said to you before it live, the Batman's out of the cinemas. Yes, it's a gargantuan hit. This film would make money if it came out.
Oh yeah.
Why? Because you can't take kids to a Batman. It's rated 15 here. You're not
Mm,
going to take a 4-year-old to the new Batman film, even if it isn't rated 15. And I just feel that they've missed out on an easy month of having this at the box
mm.
office. This would make decent money. It would be a great way for people to go. And I just also feel that target market is there ready to watch it, and relegate it to online for them next Friday. Say, guess what's new to Disney Plus? Not this. This is already at the back of our page.
Yeah. I feel like this is also quite an important film for people growing up. It does show a very kind of clear message about kind of family and about growing pains and everything like that. And it handles the kind of material very maturely. I feel it's a very well kind of portrayed film with those messages and everything like that, and it gets them across in a way that is understandable by almost everyone, which is what you can do with animation. It's what you can do with these kind of films. So for it to be kind of pushed onto kind of the stream platform, which sure everyone has access to, but it's not in the cinema. It's not kind of sat down in the seats. It's not with the popcorn. It's not kind of a family experience. It's more likely to be oh, here's the film, just throw it on the TV kind of job, which I don't agree with. I agree that there is a place and a time for kind of
Yeah.
Disney Plus to have kind of new releases and stuff like that. I don't feel like Pixar getting kind of shoved into that kind of spot is that part, especially when you've got kind of such an enthusiastic and such a good main character as Mei Lee. in the film. 13-year-old. This is also a period piece. This is set in the early 2000s, which I quite liked. I quite liked the vibe that it went with. Kind of the music style was a nice throwback to those kind of times. So people, like parents watching this film, will kind of immediately resonate with that, especially because the early 2000s was maybe what some young parents would have been growing up with and stuff like that of that time. So really, really enjoyed the main character. Um, really enjoyed kind of the story and the concept. I did get lost a little bit in the kind of the mythology behind it. I wish they kept a more
Yeah.
straight line kind of approach to the story, with the whole kind of more leaning towards it being a puberty thing within the family and less about kind of a family curse, which is something that you learn about halfway through the film. Or if you watch the trailer, it's plastered all over the trailer that it's a family curse, which maybe ruins a little bit of a surprise there. But I think even though this film is flawed, it does portray the message in quite a nice way. It does get the point across, and the animation, as per usual, because it's Pixar, is fantastic. It has a nice blend of different animated styles and stuff like that. There's a little bit of kind of like the influence from certain animes and stuff like that. Early 2000s animation as well, mixed in with kind of Pixar's, what I say is their bread and butter, which is like fur animation. If you need to go to Pixar, it's the animation of the fur. It has been since it was Monsters Inc. Has been ever since then, and it is still kind of the company to go for that. But yeah, it's quite an interesting film.
Yeah, and I think sort of going into the main character Melon as well. You know, obviously, this big drama online about this reviewer that just says he can't associate himself with the film because he's not a 12-year-old girl or something, which is really dumb. But what I find quite fascinating, obviously, what we're in our mid-20s, with the same age, and it's like, although it's a period piece set in the early noughties, it still feels relevant to everyone in society. Obviously, I don't have the immigration angle or those parents tied into that, and I think everyone's going to have a different experience in that regard.
Mm,
But just being at that age, when you're like 12, 13, and even as something simple as want to go to a new concert, this is our favorite band, and you've got that dilemma of your parents saying, this is crap music,
mm,
we hate this music, get out your system, you're not going to get the money to go for this. I found it very funny how real the film felt. Like, I feel that I very much documentary. I'd imagine the director's put a lot of her personal life into this, because I just feel like it's something so many people have lived through for so many years, and it's really interesting to see that concept go onto the big screen, to see how funny it is. And even we'll talk about some of the other characters they're on, but like even like the friendship groups, they all feel real. I don't feel like I'm watching, um, like a Pixar film with a hyper reality. Here's like 8 human beings, and you're never going to find any of them like that. It feels like this is the sort of group you would find at school. There is a group like this in every year group, or in every few classes or something like that. And that's what I found really sort of heartwarming with it, that it felt so real and authentic. And with Maiden, she's not, I would say, a traditional Disney character either. She's,
yeah,
I don't want to say very loud and obnoxious, that sounds really unfair, but from the moment we meet her, we see her talking about her life in a very powerful sound. This is what she's into, this is her friends, this is her life. And it's quite bombastic in how we're shown her. And it kind of thought at the start, I was like, oh, am I going to enjoy this character like as a lead?
mm,
And then after a couple months, like, yeah, absolutely, like adore this. I'm very curious to see what comes next. And I found it really fascinating. Again, it feels like a different breed of animated film, and I think it's got some of the charm that Pixar has, where Pixar's able to tell stories that no one else, in a way that no one else can.
mm,
They're able to take these fascinating ideas, and I think the beauty of Pixar films is, I would say almost every single Pixar film, bar maybe one or two, uh, yes, it's for children, but it absolutely resonates with adults. And I think that's the beauty of the studio, is that you can hit a certain age and you'll appreciate the film, or you'll realize how much real some more of these things are. And I felt I had this with this, and I think the characters resonate with me in that regard. I don't know how they are with you as well.
yeah. I agree. I agree with that. It is something that it doesn't matter kind of which background you're from. You can absolutely identify with at least something from one of the characters, one of the side characters, stuff like that. I also like the fact that this film focused quite a lot on kind of empty nest syndrome, and also kind of how close a relationship of kind of following in your parents' footsteps. And that's quite a strong theme kind of heading towards kind of the end of the film as well, about kind of following in your parents' footsteps. And I know they have the whole kind of mythology thing, which is passed down for generations, but it's also kind of following what your parents done previously, and kind of looking to your ancestors and kind of the line that goes on, which is something that a lot of films try and do. And this film does it okay. They lose me at the end. I'll admit it. We won't spoil the ending, But they do lose me a little bit towards the end. But the general kind of motive and the general kind of theme behind that of kind of not pushy parents, but kind of parents who want you to do as they did, and you kind of following that to an extent and then pushing back. I like that element when it's added into films, especially when it's a film about growing up, because it's one of those things which you do when you grow up. You test those boundaries and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And how else are you going to test a boundary unless you're a giant red panda? I mean, simply put, kind of like it's fun in that element, and it's kind of it's something that everyone can understand. So that reviewer is, I mean, completely wrong. I mean, I believe he's been completely blasted online for his kind of take on it and stuff like that. But I mean, this film has a lot going for it. This film also doesn't have much going for it, kind of personally for me towards the end. But overall, I would say it was a reasonably positive film. Probably won't watch it again for a while, but it will be one that I'll watch again a little bit further down the line. Maybe if I'm kind of going through all the Pixar films. Is that a Pixar retrospective on the horizon, George? I hear, or is that?
This is the 25th Pixar film. I've got to say, the 25th Pixar film. So they've hit that Bond's, Bond's on
Yeah.
25, and Pixar's going to leapfrog it with Lightyear in June. But no, it's interesting on this with the characters. I mean, even the parents, if you mentioned it, sort of challenging the ideals, having the whole parents angle of like growing up, and you've got the overarching mother character, and you've got
Yeah.
the father who is seen as not the weakling of the family, but it's the mom that wears the trousers in their household. And I just love this concept that not that it's a family curse, but the duality of the panda is really interesting, because when you get films like this, right, you get a giant pop up panda. This is a freak. This is horrible. Beating the beast, all that kind of stuff. But it never was. I mean, it's not really spoiled, but they monetize the panda, and I
Mm.
just love that although it's not today's day and age, it's still the noughties. That's something you do at school. That's something that would
Yeah.
happen, and you
100%.
really want to go to that concert, and it's going to build towards that, and sort of with those things in mind. That's what I kind of enjoyed from it. They just took a different approach to what would have been expected from it.
Mm.
One negative I want to speak, but I can't go into specifics because in the end, I wasn't lost at the final act. There's a big scene, a big moment with a big panda that I just didn't work for me, and I know a lot of people have enjoyed it, but I felt like the film it needed to go. Oh god, not it felt like a Marvel film. But when you get the Marvel third, it's like we
Yeah.
must have something big and gigantic and a threat, and I don't think personally it worked for this. I think there was a really, really well done drama in this. Again, talking like lineage, families, immigration, for it to then felt a really random big moment here, and then it popped down. It's like now we go back to the drama side of it. I can understand why it's there. It's fulfilling a purpose. It is a film. At the end of the day, it's a climax. I just felt like this could have been one of those picks. Pixar don't always have to go big
Mm.
for the ending. Even something like Luca last year, which was very, very, I think not under. I don't know. I would
The
say
big,
Luca's underrated
big
now. No
finale,
one's
I was
speaking
going to
about
say
Luca.
the big finale for Luca was the bike race, and then
Yeah,
kind of the train station as like
the
the
train
epilogue.
sequence. and
And
and that's drama.
yeah,
That was like quite
mm,
emotional to see that bit. And here we are with Turning Red, and you get some moments like that. And I think Pixar know what they're doing. Like Pixar know how to pull apart families, how to get the tears going. I didn't cry in this, but I've seen a lot of people saying they have, and it's just been really fascinating. But again, this is it's just such a crime that no one's going to really get the chance to. If they haven't seen it this weekend, I'm telling them right now, this isn't going to be something people speak about, because there is a big film out there. There's a lot of big stuff coming to Disney Plus every other week at the moment, and I think this is one that's going to go into the radar, and maybe in
mm,
a couple of years' time, people say, "Well, remember Turning Red," and you'll get some good conversations online. And I think this will immortally be known as the film that the one that Disney wouldn't release at the cinemas. And obviously a bit of real life stuff happening. I'm not too sure on the politics what's happening, but
yeah,
there is a big issue with Bob Chapek. I've not read into it, which is why I'm not going to give my personal thoughts. So I'm not
mm,
read into it. I'm not going to. But I do know that Pixar have now wrote a letter about some of the stuff that Disney's head office or Disney's hierarchy haven't allowed them do to certain characters with relationships with other characters. I think certainly in Luca and in this, there's blatantly two leading roles that I think would have been played for people to be same sex couples, LGBTQ plus, all that kind of stuff, and they backed off. And I've got to say, Pixar again, the fact they've called them out. Obviously, they're not named specifics, but they've said it's been turned down at every single avenue. They've had to delete scenes, redo scenes. On top of this 3 film deletion stuff from cinemas, there's clearly now a fractured relationship with the hierarchy in Pixar, and I hope it gets resolved. And kind of what's annoying with that, I'm not going to bash Lightyear because I'm so buzzing for it, but it's a bit of a sting that Lightyear is going to get a cinema release because you don't need to release Lightyear at a cinema.
Yeah,
Like it's going to be so big because it's Toy Story and it's not Toy Story at the same time. But Lightyear is a fundamental blockbuster that everyone's going to go and watch, and it's not saying you can't put this in its place. You can't put this in a June release date or get massacred by Jurassic Park or something. But it's really frustrating knowing that the next film is going to cinemas and the next film is a technically not a sequel, but a
yeah.
kind of prequel slash origin slash we
It's
don't
a safe bet that they don't have to put too much effort into, whereas this is a ground up project which has taken a lot of time and effort to get through, and it challenges kind of it's challenging a topic that hasn't been tackled before, whereas Lightyear is probably going to be quite run of the mill. It's frustrating, especially when films like this get caught up in the middle of that, especially with Luca as well. I mean, Luca's grown on me since I've watched it. It's one of those films where I hear a lot more people talking about it, especially on the run up to the Oscars now than people were back when it was released, which is quite nice that a film like that has garnered such kind of a kind of large amount of praise and stuff like that coming forwards. Also, I'm intrigued about the release date of this film because it's not released in time for the Oscars this year. It's kind
early
of
for next year.
It's going to be kind of it'll be in for next year, but it makes you think kind of, will it actually be up for anything next year? Because it's so early in the kind of schedule and stuff like that. People are likely to forget about it by that time it comes out for the Oscars.
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, I think they'll push Lightyear. It's Buzz Lightyear. It's got Captain America and it's got
Yeah.
Taika Waititi. It's got an
Yeah.
insane voice cast and the animation looks stupendous. But this might be like what was the one from March last year? You had Luca. You had
Luca's
Encanto.
still this year's Oscar.
Raya and the
Raya
Last
and the
Dragon.
Last
Right?
Dragon.
That was similar time, like February, March, and I think it did qualify for, and it did get nominated, but
It's nominated
it's
this
not
year's
in
Oscars, yeah.
and it's not going to win because it came out too early. Everyone knows Encanto's had the hype. Encanto's had the songs,
So I mean, I don't want it to become an Encanto review. Encanto isn't as hype as everyone is saying it is, and I'm probably going to be slaughtered for saying that. But it's not an instant. It's not an instant classic. I don't know what people are on. The songs are so disconnected that it makes no sense. But we'll go into that when we do our rundown of the animated films for the actual Oscars and stuff like that, because I want to speak my mind about Encanto because I think it's been too hyped up and there are better films out there about similar subjects.
No, absolutely. We'll bring that up in a minute, actually. But I'll go on my final thoughts. I said I'm, as someone that knew nothing about this, I was taken away. I've got some issues with it, but I think this is a solid Pixar film. I'm just say solid. It's not the top end of their studio. It's nowhere near the bottom end of their studio. It's like mid table now. Like Marvel and Bond, this Pixar's become this monstrous beast where people will expect, because of how great that first 10 was, or however many, a studio making 25 30 years now, we're past all this. It's really interesting to see that the quality is still there, but Pixar's kept in such esteem that they have this above any animation studio. The Pixar film has a certain expectation of film's going to meet, and I think this film does fine of that. But again, this film just doesn't feel like it had that chance to even do anything else other than just be released online. I feel that there's robbed opportunities and sort of the direction. I really like the direction. I thought it was very well done. Very, I don't want to say edgy. I hate that term, talking film stuff, but it feels, again, it's not a traditional animation studio type film. This is something a bit more personal, a bit more real, with a bit of that sort of fantasy element thrown in there. And I thought it was solid viewing. I was entertained by it as you want to be. Thought it's got outstanding animation, as I can say for every single Pixar film ever made. And I just felt a bit damper after, not because of the film, but because of the treatment of this film.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I feel like this film has been kind of back shelved purely out of the fact that it's gone straight onto a streaming service. I do have its criticisms of this film and stuff like that. I don't really like the final act and stuff like that. There are moments in it which are nice, but just the general final act, it doesn't need to be as kind of big and bombastic as they went for it. I think this film is one of those films where it'd be so much nicer to have something introspective. But as far as kind of the first 2/3 of the film, amazing, and Pixar always delivers on stuff like this, and it's nice to see something very different from anything that has been done before.
Definitely. So everybody, please let us know your thoughts on Turning Red. Comment below as we've both seen this film. It's a new Pixar one. Even comment your thoughts on Pixar, and maybe you'd want some more Pixar stuff in the future. Who knows? There is a very big Pixar film coming out in June. I think that film's going to be. I mean, the summer's pretty stacked this year. I'm not going to lie, but it's going to be very interesting to see how lightly it does do in the current market. Or will Disney magically turn around and say this one's going to go online too? Very surprised that did happen.
Imagine the riots. Jesus.
I think I would like. This is someone's got a giant Buzz Lightyear figure above him that he couldn't go over. It's so important as an adult. But yeah. So please hit subscribe and take. You mentioned animated video. Let's talk about that. The annual. It'll be the first time on the annual. What do you call it? The Oscar animation disc.
It's Oscar like animated rundown or something like that. Hoedown rundown.
It's a really cool concept. So there'll be a video next week. We'll be going through the 5 animated films, giving like almost mini reviews / discussions on them, and then talking about what we think will win or maybe what should win, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be next weekend. It's always a week before the Oscar ceremony. Just like on our predictions game, we always put the best animated film one below best film, because we're just giving the genre a bit more credibility. And I can't remember, has it been relegated to the TV broadcast, the off-TV nonsense that they're doing? I can't remember.
I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them.
No, absolute shambles. But we'll talk about that on the Oscar live stream. And as always, please do follow us on social medias: Twitter at @cinema_savvy, Facebook, and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. Link in TeePublic to that description. But we mentioned Oscar stuff. A lot more Oscar videos coming on the way. There's a lot of videos popping up when Drive My Car still is now. I keep joking. It will come out at some point this week. It's a 3-hour film. The day it was meant to happen was when the Kenobi trailer came, and rightfully that took control. There's going to be a lot more Oscar stuff, so please stick around. Get us on socials. I have more dates on there, videos coming up. I feel like I had something else relevant to say in regards to Pixar, but I've completely forgotten in absolute truth. Akin to Disney's hierarchy, I guess we could say. But yes, there's a lot more reviews on the way. This is a new release as well. We've had a few new releases. There's going to be one coming out tomorrow morning at the time it's going up at 9 a.m. for a film coming out this Friday on Amazon. I can't give much more than that, but it involves 2 actresses and actors who got together during filming and had a very public relationship across the pandemic, which would be more exciting than the film. I'd rather see that film. So everybody at home, thank you all for watching. Be sure to join us on the next one, and we'll see you then. Take care.